Welcome to a Think Energy Short, hosted by me, Trevor Freeman. This is a bite sized episode designed to be a quick summary of a specific topic or idea related to the world of energy. This is meant to round out our collective understanding of the energy sector and will complement our normal guest interview episodes. Thanks for joining and happy listening. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another Think Energy Short. I'm your host, Trevor Freeman. I'm recording this the day after our federal election here in Canada. And energy, as it so often does, did come up on the campaign trail. There was talk about the transfer of energy from province to province, including a west east pipeline and a national interconnected electricity grid, which we've talked about a little bit here on the show before, improving the way that we move electricity from province to province, not just sort of north to south between us and the United States. There was also talk about specific strategies on how to address climate targets, albeit not very much talk about that. Nor was there a lot of talk about how to foster the energy transition, although it did pop up from time to time, especially if you're an energy nerd like me and went looking for it. The point is, whether it was front and center in election ads or not, there are some big decisions to be made regarding energy in the coming years. And those big decisions will undoubtedly lead, one way or another, to some big energy projects. But that is not what we're going to talk about today. We're actually going to zoom in a little bit and talk about the work that goes on a little bit closer to home that is critical to making the entire system work for the end user, you, the customer, me, the customer, including those big energy projects. And that is the work that is done to build and maintain our local distribution grid. So the poles and the wires and the transformers that you see outside your home or outside your business, that's actually bringing the power, the final step, so that you can use it. Before we can talk about national energy independence or these large goals that we have as a country when it comes to energy, we need to make sure that the poles and wires and transformers in every city, every town, and every neighborhood are ready and that we're building the necessary infrastructure to meet that growing demand. And that is where your local utility comes in. We don't just maintain the system that we have, we prepare it for the future and make sure that we're laying the foundation that we need for tomorrow. Here in Ottawa, it is finally spring, or at least it feels like it's finally spring outside. And that means that construction and outdoor work is starting to ramp up. So today, I'd like to shed a little bit of light into what our crews do and your local utilities crews likely do to maintain and to build our system. When it comes to keeping our grid operating in tip top shape, nothing beats planned maintenance. This is the cornerstone of any electric utility strategy to deliver safe and reliable power. And this includes proactive measures like replacing aging equipment, trimming trees near power lines, and performing essential upgrades. Such activities are vital in reducing the frequency and duration of unexpected outages and, helping maintain that resilient power system that we all rely on. So let's go step by step. Utility poles. They are assessed regularly and replaced as needed. Utilities Critical Hydro Pole Program tests thousands of poles annually to identify the ones that require maintenance. And new pole installations also support grid expansion to meet a city or a community's growing need, new residential developments or new commercial developments, for example. Next would be something like vegetation management. So this is another critical aspect. Regular tree trimming and removal near power lines can help prevent outages and safety hazards, especially during storms and high winds. Utilities like Hydro Ottawa, who I work for, employ satellite imaging technology to scan the grid, at least twice a year to identify high risk areas and potentially dead or dying trees to allow for proactive maintenance. And that's in addition to the sort of visual inspection that happens as our crews are moving about our system. So all these different techniques that we use, it's like high-tech arboriculture with a mission, grid resilience. We are aiming to reduce the amount of tree contact with our system. If we go below our streets, we will see chambers connecting vast duct structures to our substations. So where you don't see overhead lines, that means those lines are buried, running through duct work. Maintenance hole upgrades and cable replacements are also part of a comprehensive maintenance strategy. These efforts are critical to keep our underground infrastructure safe and ensure that the structural integrity of our entire power system is able to accommodate our city's current and growing electricity demands. We also have equipment like transformers and switches and circuit breakers that are located both outside, overhead, underground, in substations and transformers, and they undergo routine inspections and replacements to prevent potential service disruptions. But it's not just maintaining what we've got. We also need to continue expanding to meet growing need. We talk a lot on this show, as all you listeners know, about the fact that our demand for electricity is growing and it's growing at a pace that we really haven't seen before. So we need to make sure that we are building out our grid to be able to meet that demand. In order to do this, Hydro Ottawa, for example, is embarking on one of the largest grid investment programs in our entire history. And it's something that a lot of utilities in Ontario and across the country are looking at as they do their long term planning and forecasting. So, as an example of just what the pace of change is here in Ottawa, traditionally we would build a new substation every kind of 5 to 7 years. And this is a major project. A substation is a big project. And so, one every 5 to 7 years has been the pace. In our next 5 year period, so kind of between now and 2030, we are planning to energize a new substation every single year for the next 5 years. Substations play a pivotal role in the power grid, stepping down high voltage electricity that we get from transmission lines to lower voltages that are suitable for distribution to homes and businesses, to our customers. So, as an example, again, here in Ottawa, we have a substation that became fully operational in 2022 in Ottawa's southwest end, and that substation alone can power 32,000 homes annually. So substations are one of the major pieces of work that we are doing to build out our grid and provide for the growing electricity demands. And along with those substations come new distribution lines and more poles and wires and transformers and all of the associated equipment. Now, a lot of this work might sound routine, but it's not. It's strategic and forward looking and absolutely essential if we want to build a clean, flexible, reliable energy future here in Canada. So when utilities replace an old pole today, it's not just maintaining the status quo, it's laying the foundation for a national clean grid tomorrow. It's supporting some of those large projects that we talked about at the very beginning of this episode. When utilities install new conduit for easier cable upgrades, that conduit could be helping future generations of Canadians stay connected to renewable power. When utilities trim one branch at a time, they're protecting the integrity of an entire community's power system. Now, behind these initiatives are a number of dedicated, capable, really smart folks that are working on these projects. Obviously, we've got our outdoor crew, so power line technicians, our overhead and underground crews, our stations technicians, our forestry crews. These are the folks that are really out on the front line that are maintaining and building our grid. You'll often see them out there by our trucks or in orange. If you see them, keep your distance because they're working, but give them a thumbs up or say hi, wave at them, and tell them they're doing a great job because they always are. But then we also have some, let's call them back of house folks that are working on various aspects of our grids. And that's everything from our powerhouse technicians that are operating and monitoring the generators that are in our generating stations. And for Hydro Ottawa, that includes our Chaudière generating station in downtown Ottawa on the Ottawa River. We've got smart grid engineers that are focused on integrating renewable energy resources and modernizing the grid to make it more resilient and sustainable and to bring more data in from the grid to let us make better decisions. We've got system operators that really serve as a communications hub between the field workers and the control center, ensuring rapid response to outages and maintaining the integrity of our distribution system. If you haven't already listened to an episode I did almost a year ago now about grid modernization with Jenna from Jenna Gillis from Hydro Ottawa, have a listen to that, and you'll hear a little bit about what those system operators do. The collective efforts of all these folks and many others are really crucial to supporting both the local needs and our national energy objectives. So these big projects, again, to say that point again, those large projects don't happen without the day-to-day small projects happening as well. So there you have it. I hope you found that to be an interesting look into some of the essential work that your local municipal utility is doing and how that connects to those larger, big energy policy decisions and projects. As always, really appreciate you tuning in and look forward to chatting with you next time. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Think Energy podcast. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and it would be great if you could leave us a review. It really helps to spread the word. As always, we would love to hear from you, whether it's feedback, comments, or an idea for a show or a guest. You can always reach us at thinkenergy@hydroottawa.com.